answer some questions, and feel free to post any questions you have in the chat window here. Throughout the presentation, we'll try to answer them all at the end. Let me tell you guys a little bit about who we are. My partner, Chris Edgar, and myself, we've been providing services for SedonaOffice clients for over 5 years now. We've actually met at a SedonaOffice users conference several years ago and decided that it would be a good idea to join forces and combine both of our knowledge together to provide actually our first 20 Sedona Sync events. That seems like forever now, as we've been working for the last 5 years, and we have well over 300 events, and we're working with almost 80 different companies now. So it's been quite an explosion here, but we're really glad to be working with you guys. During this process, we also developed our own web services reporting and dashboarding product, built from the ground up to work with SedonaOffice. Web services, which we'll discuss a little bit later in the demo, is much more than even that, and I think you guys will see that when we show that. Okay, so let's first talk a little bit about Sedona Sync. This is an add-on module from SedonaOffice, which allows technically savvy users and IT users to build all manners of email reports and notifications and even workflows using some creative tools in the Sedona Sync application. But one thing we noticed early on is that application does require a little bit of technical knowledge in order to get it up and going. So what we've decided to do is to take all the fuss out of managing the utility and just getting you guys what you actually need, and that's the sync events. So we pre-built these events, and we manage all the code and the setup for you guys. So when you come with OPT, we get you guys set up and we help you figure out what you guys are looking to do, and we provide those events and services for you guys. Okay, so I'm going to jump into the webinar. Here, we're going to talk a little bit about a couple areas that we focus on, improving operational efficiency, customer relations, and profitability through using Sedona Sync and now web services. So let's talk just one more minute about what Sedona Sync is and how does it help the business. So Sedona Sync is an activity monitoring system. So what that means is that it actually goes and looks at your SedonaOffice database and can be even connected to other databases such as Manitou, Quoteworks, WeSuite, and such. And it looks for conditions that exist inside the system, like, for instance, a new service ticket's created or a new customer's created. When it finds this data, it actually goes ahead and processes what we call a Sedona Sync event. So that can be something like emailing an alert to somebody or sending off a report. We can even do actions which updates things in the database and workflows where it requires you to acknowledge something and move forward. Okay. So let's talk a little bit about how we use this product to improve operational efficiency. So here's an example of a real simple event that we've created for a technician. It gives them a listing of all of their upcoming service calls for the next day. It gives them some basic information about the site, the contact that's associated, and basically the information they would need in order to take a look at that call. Now, what's great about this is that we format these events for you guys to actually work well on mobile devices. So when it pulls up on a mobile device, they can actually go ahead and click on the address, pull up a map on there, and use their mobile device to get them directions and things like that. We've expanded this event over the last few years here now to even show other things like, inspection documents that need to be filled out, or listing of other servicemen that are going to that same call today. There's different options that we can discuss that are available for this event. A great example of where we've actually looked at both data from the SedonaOffice application and data from the Manitou application is something we call the alerts are still on test. So we can actually see when the technician has departed the call, but go cross-reference that in the automation system Manitou to see that they are still on test and that they may need to contact somebody to put the account back into full service. So we can combine the data from both systems to take a look at what's going on. Okay, let's switch over to talk a little bit about customer relations. One of the great examples of this is a service ticket and keeping the customer in the loop of everything that's going on. So using a couple creative sync events, we can do things like let the customer know that we're addressing their problem when the service ticket's created. And then we also can send them a reminder notification, letting them know that they've got an appointment tomorrow. And we've actually increase that event's capability. We can actually put in a link in there that says that they've wished to confirm or request cancellation or rescheduling. Quite a few of our users are doing that. It actually helps avoid sending unnecessary truck roll. And then we also have events that work after the service ticket's been completed, things like giving them their information of what the service technician did, as well as possibly sending them a link to take a short survey. We'll talk a little bit more about our survey package a little bit here as well. One of the big areas that we've been focusing on for several years now is email invoicing and collections. We can cut back drastically on the amount of money that you guys spend for sending paper invoices out by simply emailing them to the customer. We go ahead and we pick up the invoice from the SedonaOffice print queue, and now with their new email functionality, you pick it up from there as well. And what we do is we can create a customized email template for you. Use your SedonaOffice format or the custom format you guys have created, and we can add quite a few options into this to really make this a powerful email event. One great example is we've just recently added in the ability to attach all manner of different types of documents, things like the service ticket completion form and inspection reports, things like that. Anything that's scanned into your system can be attached to the invoice, as well as marketing information, things like that. In addition, there's also a link inside the invoice that they can click on it to go straight to Sedona Web and pay that invoice. We offer email invoicing in two flavors. We can do it either as what we call an HTML body email, which is where we put all the content of the invoice directly in the email notification itself, or we can attach a PDF to the email and have that as an attachment. And we also offer what we call our download option as well, where we send a link to the customer saying you should click here to download the invoice. The great benefit of that is that when we click on to download the invoice, we're actually tracking those clicks, and we're tracking whether or not the customer has received and opened that invoice. And all that information actually gets written back to the database, and you can see all that within web services. Okay. As I mentioned before, we work with you guys to get your format exactly the way you guys have. We've got several formats already built, things between the standard invoice format, the 3 Bridgestone formats, and a few other ones as well. And then we've created quite a few other custom forms for users based on their requirements. Another example is where we do automated collections. This is a great option because we can actually send out either a simple reminder notification to a customer that their invoice is past due, or we can send out a full statement and have that email and automated for you. So on the left-hand side, you'll see a sample email here of some friendly verbiage that can actually be changed based on how delinquent the customer is. So if they're falling within their current or bucket 1, we can have one message, and if they're well into bucket 5, we can have a more severe message. Below is listing all the invoices that are past due and a little bit of the aging information there. And if you have web services as well, one of the great things is that all the invoice links all become hyperlinks. So the customer can actually click into each individual invoice and see what that invoice is actually for. So other than just looking at the email content itself, they can drill in and open up each one of the invoices. And then on the right is more of a traditional statement type of format. Again, we also offer the invoice links in there and a link there to go ahead and pay that statement online, which would take them into Sedona Web, and they can make a payment paying all their invoices. These are also both available in PDF as well. And we do the same level of tracking here for the invoice as the statement, so you can see whether or not that invoice was, that statement was sent, and if they've opened the email. Okay. Let's talk about a couple of events that help with overall profitability. One great example is our service flash report. This is a monthly report that we can send out that kind of gives you a breakdown of your different service companies and how they're performing right now. We can look at the number of tickets that have been opened and closed for this month, if we're going up and down in our overall ticket count, and how much we've invoiced for this month in parts and labor and other, what our total sales are. And one of the interesting statistics that we have here is resolved with no service, or service within a single appointment. So we can actually look at overall how how likely are we to resolve that call without having to send multiple dispatches. So it's kind of like giving us a kind of a go back statistic here. And we got some averages that opened and closed per week there. Now what we do with this report is we break that down by your service company, and we actually show you that the sum of that for all your service companies, so your entire company, and then we actually look at some trending analysis of this as well. So we can see what this looked like year to date, and what it looked like last year during this time as well. So we can say in the last couple of years, around this time of the year, how has our ticket counts been looking? So are we getting more or less than what we usually do this time of year? Okay. Now, we also have a similar report like this available for jobs and installations. And we also have these reports, which gives a little bit more of a summary for your daily reports. So they can come out and kind of give you a snapshot of what you did today. The purchase price variance report is an interesting thing to keep an eye on. As you know, when you go ahead and you purchase a part, and that part that you purchase from your vendor is at a different price than what you set your standard costing to, if you use that feature, it generates a PPV transaction. So by using a report like this, we can keep an eye on what those transactions are, look at our parts that are consistently requiring PPV transactions, and either identify if we have a purchasing problem or if we just need to update the data in the system. So it's a great way to kind of keep an eye on what your money makers are and what your losers are. And in addition to the individual reports, we can actually chain several pieces of information together to create what we call a daily flash report. And this is an example of a financial flash report where we pulled in just some basic key performance indicators, things like what's my total deposits today, what's my open collections, looking at specific accounts, what the ending balance is in those accounts, and things like how many accounts did we cancel this month, how many sites have we added, and that type of thing. So this is a highly customizable report. We work with you guys to figure out what indicators you want to see, and then we'll plug them into the report for you guys. Okay, so we have, like I mentioned earlier in the webinar, we have well over 300 different events, and I can go on here forever showing through all the different things that we have to offer. But what I'd recommend doing is taking a look at our website. We have a listing of all of our events that are available up there, and we have samples of quite a few of them. And we'll talk a little bit about the packages we have here at the end. So I'm going to switch gears a little bit and talk a little bit about our web services product. So web services was originally something that we built to help manage our sync events, and ended up turning out to be much more than just that. Now this application is fully integrated within SedonaOffice. We actually can go from SedonaOffice into the web services, and it passes all the security information that you already have in your SedonaOffice over to the web services, and then provides a landing place where the customer can go through the different dashboards and the different reports and things like that. So you'll see when web services is implemented in your system that there'll be a new button in your toolbar at the top that says OPT, and when you click on that button, it's actually going to take us to a report called our branch landing page, which is going to show us some high-level statistics about how that branch is performing in your system. So we're going to get things like your active customers, your RMR customers, your open invoicing and the breakdown there, your open credits, how many service calls you have in the system, and inspections and jobs. One of the great indicators that we have within this report is things like our unbilled service, which indicates to us that if we were to close all of the open service tickets that we have out there now, this is how much we can generate in billing. These are tickets that have been resolved and the parts and labor have already been added onto the service ticket, but the invoice hasn't been created yet. So this is really money that you guys could see very shortly by just simply closing it and pushing the ticket along the process. In the case of jobs, we also have a similar type of statistic. We've got our pending install and our unbilled jobs. Our pending install is going to tell us how much the open jobs are worth, and our unbilled is going to tell us how much of those jobs is left to be billed. So we can kind of keep an eye on those statistics as well. And in all of these statistics, we actually can drill down into the individual branch and then drill down even further into each one of the statistics to see which accounts or jobs or service tickets make up those statistics. So you can drill straight through the report. Okay, I'm going to jump back here a couple. So one of the foundations of web services is what we call our dashboard grid. So this is something very similar that you would see in SedonaOffice, like on the service queue. We have that same type of grid that we can put any kind of report through. So this is an example, just a simple report where we're looking at our go back queue. And we've grouped this report by our service company. And then we have a listing of all of our tickets there, and we can go into each one of those tickets and see what that ticket is all about here. And then we can build similar reports like this that use the same functionality, where we can allow grouping, sorting, filtering, reordering, and you can even export this information out to Excel or CSV. So it's a great way to take a look at this, the different information that we have available, and then kind of work with that information. And so at the top of the dashboard, you'll see that there's a navigation menu where we have a listing of different dashboards that you have available or installed to you, where you can open them up. Our OPT Sync interface button allows us to go in and customize the different notifications and events that we have. And our tools section allows us to take a look at what Sedona Sync is doing for us, who is emailing, and run some statistics like that. That's also where all of our user permissions and setup is stored as well. So taking a look at another example, we have a dashboard that we simply created that shows us a listing of our employees and some information there. What I want you to understand about this one here is that we can actually store additional information for these employees in our web services that isn't available within SedonaOffice. So it's pulling a list of all of our individual employee records, but I'm also storing additional information like their photo, their birthday, their extension, email address, things like that, that's associated with those particular employees. And this report's showing that we can add in images and even action buttons to create workflow, like email the customer or email the employee with some information. Here's an example of a little bit more in detailed dashboard that we've created that allows us to run out a technician audit report by last month or this month, and by branch or service company or install company. So we would look at this report and then drill down and see much more detail. As I mentioned before, on the branch landing page there, this would be the drill down section where we can take a look at information about each one of those key performance indicators that we pulled on the dashboard, and then drill into what comprises those numbers. One of the great things, and we'll talk about this when we get to the customer area as well, is that we offer the ability to run a basic P&L for that branch. So we can look at what the total income and the expenses were for that branch over a given period of time and ascertain what we think our gross profit percentage and is going to be for that branch. Now, this is based on strictly the information that's added to the customer records. So all of the labor that you spend servicing the customer, installing the customer, as well as any equipment that you've allocated to those particular customers. And all the customers that belong to this branch will have the money allocated to that branch. An example of another style report that we have is what we call our service goals dashboard. This is going to show us, again, some basic key information here, and we'll get some gauges that let us see how far we are billing this month and if we're meeting a goal. We can actually set up the goals within web services and say what our target is for that month, and this system will take a look at what we build and see how close we are to meeting those goals. So I'm going to jump back a little bit, and we talked earlier about sending a customer possibly a survey. Here's an example of one of the surveys that we send is what we call a Net Promoter Score, survey. It's basically you're asking a customer, based on a 10-point scale, how likely are you to recommend us to your friends and family. Now, what we do is we actually let the customer answer that survey and pull up a web form for them, and we actually pre-populate all their information into it. So all they need to do is type any additional feedback and hit submit. Now, once we, and this survey form is completely customizable. We work with you guys to create that form to look exactly like you guys need, and you can add additional questions if you choose as well. But once the customer submits that response, we actually pull that information back into web services, and ultimately we push it back to SedonaOffice. So we can actually take a look and analyze how those surveys are coming back. How many of them are promoters, how many of them are passives and detractors, and then kind of get a feel what our overall score is going to be. In addition to getting the overall score, we can actually look at what contributes to that score. So we can break that score down by technician and say, okay, let me look at each technician that went out and see how they are helping or hurting that score. So I can click on a technician and see how many of the responses were allocated to them because they were the technician on file. We can do the same type of analysis for your service company. We can do the analysis for your salesman of record for that account. We can even break it down as far as the panel type, the system type, and even the person that scheduled the service call for you. We can allocate the survey responses to each of those different categories and take a look at how each one of those categories are performing. Okay. Within the customer landing page, which we'll talk about in a few minutes here, we also have a little panel that's going to show us how that customer is performing. So we can get their overall scores over a given period of time and take a look at their last response that came in and drill into that as well. In addition to looking at the overall statistics of the survey, we can actually drill down into all of the individual answers and all the custom questions that you've asked as well, and have access to all that data. But where the real power comes in is that we actually push this information back into SedonaOffice. So in addition to storing it in our web platform, we're able to push a field note back to the service ticket that indicates all of the answers to their survey response. So looking through the customer notes very quickly, you can take a look and see what the different scores were. If you open up any one of the individual service tickets, you can take a look at everything that contributed to how that customer responded to that survey request. Okay. We also track everything that we are sending out with Sedona Sync. So in this particular case, we've got earlier in the service ticket, we have the notification that Sedona Sync has actually sent the request to the customer, and now we have the response so we can see that they've actually filled it out. Okay, so let's talk about another area of web services, and that's called our customer landing page. So the first area we looked at was kind of a high-level branch or company-wide analysis. Now we also have a section called our customer landing page. When you right click into customer information, you come out to the customer landing page, this is going to give us a bunch of different information that's going to be centric around that particular customer. So we have, this is an example of that customer landing page, and there's several different modules within this page that we can look at. So starting at the top here, we have a simple information panel that shows us a little bit about that customer, but over on the bottom right-hand side, we have an open invoice analysis. This is going to let us know what we have open in invoicing, and when we click on that, it's actually going to drill down and let us see each of the individual invoices. The reason we have this here is at the far right-hand side, we have a button to say email. So we can actually click on each one of these invoices and redeliver this invoice to the customer, write a custom message there and send it off to them. And here is the sample of sending off the email. It's going to pull our signature in there and give us a little message, and we can customize that and send that off to the customer. Okay, looking at the panels on our far left, we have a panel called our key account package. This is the ability for us to group this customer in like a VIP group, for instance. We can set up notifications for this group, and we can set up the different contacts that are going to receive these notifications. So for example, if you wanted to send out a status report to a key account manager, let's say at 7-Eleven stores, and that person is responsible for working and servicing, let's say, 20 different stores. You can group them all together using what we call a key account group, set up the different contacts and the notifications that they're going to receive. And then they could receive a group notification that says, here's a status update of everything that's going on your particular accounts you're managing. So it can be used for internal purposes. It can be used for notifying the customer or customer managers. It's a very powerful and flexible system. In addition to the key account, we also have our Sedona Sync event log. This is a listing of everything that's going on behind the scenes for your customer. And so things like we're sending out notifications, we're sending out the invoices, the customer's opening the invoices and viewing it, or the survey responses coming through. So it's just a listing of everything that the Sedona Sync application and web services is doing for your customer. Our next panel is our profit and loss analysis. So as we mentioned before, on the branch level, we can do a quick P&L, and this is where the data is coming from. On the customer level, we can actually analyze our total income and our expenses, as well as our labor and cost to service that customer over a given period of time. So I'm going to jump into that panel real quick, and we'll just take a look at a couple of the quick features here. So when I view the details, I can see things like a recurring analysis breakdown and all of the income and expenses that happened on this particular customer for that given period of time, broken up by GL account or GL category, expense type, item type for the invoicing side, and segment, where that charge or expense was allocated to. Was it part of an inspection, a job, or a service ticket? And then finally, on the bottom here, we can see that there's a labor analysis as well. We can see how many hours we've spent for that given period of time on inspection, service, and job, and what our estimated cost is for that labor based on your payroll suspense. On the far left, then, it shows us, again, our quick analysis. We have $21,000 for income. We have $13,000 in expenses. And after 151 hours of labor, we're looking at about a profit of $7,000. So it's a quick way of taking a look at the P&L for that customer. This module can be used to, depending on how you have your data set up, can be used to estimate a service contract profitability and a possible inspection contract and profitability as well. Okay. Our next module is our custom links. This is the ability for us to add in custom reports for you guys that's tied to this particular customer. So if you had something that you had to generate for the customer on a every now and then basis, we can create a button in here and then have that report generated by clicking the button. Next is our brand new Customers at Risk module. This is a very powerful system to allow us to indicate that a customer is potentially at risk of being lost. So we can look at different issues that would potentially plague a customer and analyze how detrimental that is to us for that particular customer. So in this case, I've added in a few different issues. One, the customer's called in that they're unhappy with their service. And also, I've got a job that's on the system that's never been scheduled. As well, I've looked and I can see that there's multiple go backs on their service side. So these codes can get added in one of two ways. We can either come in here and automatically add these codes in, and we can pick through the different list of types of issues. Again, that list is actually customizable by you guys. You set that up in the setup section. Or we can actually automatically add the codes in using Sedona Sync. It can look for different conditions that exist within that particular customer, such as the job's not been scheduled after a certain period of time, or there's too many go backs. And then when it sees those issues, it can automatically flag this customer at having that potential problem. Now, each one of these different types of issues come with an inherited risk. So in this case, the first one came with the risk level 50, 30, and 75. What we do is we add up all those risk levels, and then we end up getting our total customer at risk level for that customer. And we can set thresholds for that of what's acceptable and what's critical, and that'll indicate our LED there on the side. Now, the case codes are more than just adding in just a code that's tagged to the account. Each one of these cases actually have to be handled. And we'll talk about how that works in just a minute. There's the survey module that we mentioned before that's listed on the customer page here. And our last section here is our equipment documents. This is a quick little section that we can reference all the different equipment that the customer has and the user manuals, install sheets, and data sheets that are associated with that equipment. This is done by adding those manuals to your SedonaOffice setup for those individual different parts and panel types. And then when that equipment exists within the customer, they'll automatically show up here. And we have a feature here now that we can email that information to the customer or to a serviceman out in the field by quickly clicking a button and then selecting the documents you want to send to them. Okay. Our next section I want to show you here is our dashboard. This is going to show us a listing of all of the customers that are potentially at risk that we are managing. And we'll talk about how that works in a minute. A few other things that are on here is I can list my open tasks that I have to do. That's part of the risk system, which we'll talk about. We can also see here our service tickets that we have that I'm a service coordinator on, my jobs that I'm a project manager on, or my open prospects if I'm a salesperson. So it's a quick way to kind of get at a glance what's going on with my particular user. Okay, so now I want to jump into the customers at risk case. So as we mentioned before, we can flag a customer at potentially being at risk, but it's much more than just that. Each one of those cases have to be handled and addressed, and there's some tracking and accountability there for that as well. So what we're looking at is a case here. The customer is unhappy with their equipment, and we may have added this on manually, or this may have been added in automatically, but below we can see all the listing of notes that have gone on with this particular case. And each of those notes can be written back to SedonaOffice as well, so you don't have to necessarily look at it from here, but it is a great place to start as we can get a full analysis of what's going on. In addition to just looking at the notes here and adding notes in, we also have the ability to reassess the case risk level and adjust that. And we can also set a new follow-up date for when this case is going to be due. The case allows us to actually analyze the customer at whole as well. So we can take a look at the different issues that are and the notes that are going on with that particular customer. So we can look at all their collection notes, their general notes, prospect, task, ticket notes, job notes, all from one area here, and it's sorted accordingly. there's actually also a button here that allows us to filter the note down by issues that are particularly applicable to this particular case. In addition to the customer log, we can do a recurring analysis on this customer to see what we're really in danger of losing here. So on this particular customer, I can see that they have the different systems, how much the RMR I have for each one of those systems, what their contract terms are, and what their balance of contract is if they decided they actually want to cancel today. So how much would I be responsible for recovering, and how much am I potentially going to lose? In addition, if you use chain accounts, we can also analyze the overall impact of this particular account being lost by against the chain. So we can see all the different accounts within that chain account and see the overall risk level for each one of those. So if we see that they're starting to have multiple issues, we could potentially lose the entire chain, and that would not be good. Okay, so in addition to the analysis here, we actually can also create service tickets and assign them to this particular case. So if I identify that there's an issue with this case that service needs to go back and handle, I can create a service ticket right from within the case. Or if the service ticket's created within SedonaOffice, I can just link it in by typing in the ticket number. The benefit of that is that when the ticket becomes linked to the case, all of the notes that are going on with that particular ticket become available within this case. And in addition, when I add a case note, I can push those notes out to all of the associated tickets. So as an account manager, if I decide, there's some issue with this customer that, I want everybody to be aware of, I can create my note here and push it out to all the associated service tickets. And in addition, we can also add prospects. So I can push those notes out to the salespeople as well. Okay, so in addition to service tickets and prospects, we also can create tasks that can be assigned to individuals that need to be completed in order to solve this particular case. So in this instance, I have a task here of call customer to assign to myself. I can set a due date and add notes and complete that task. And that task will actually show up in my dashboard of open tasks, as we saw before. In addition, I'll also get an email notification saying I have a new task. And if I don't complete that task within the due date, I'll get a second notification saying my task is past due. And then if anybody comes in here and adds in a note to one of my tasks, I can also be notified that there's new information available. I need to relook at the task. So in addition to tasks, we also can assign users to the overall well-being of the case itself. We can say that these list of users need to be responsible for this case, and then it shows up in their My Cases section. The benefit of adding a user to a case, however, is that we can also set up notifications for that user to receive different notifications at different stages of the case. So when things are added to the case, when tasks are completed, when new notes are added, when the case is completed, or if it goes past the case's follow-up time. So this is a great place to assign a manager that's going to maintain making sure the case is moved along the way through. Now, the great thing about this is we can actually assign these users to these cases globally before the case is even created. So if the customer is unhappy with the equipment, then these certain users always get notified and assigned. But if the customer is calling for a different reason or has got a different issue, you may want to have a different set of users associated with the case. So when that case gets created, those users are automatically assigned and they'll get their notifications. And lastly, we talked about, we can also set up those those cases to automatically be created by Sedona Sync, which would allow those notifications to go out immediately as well. So if you had, the multiple go backs in the system and it flagged that customer as being at risk, and you were set up to be notified on that issue, then you'll get that notification saying, okay, the system found these customers and now put them at risk because they had multiple go backs. So it's a very flexible and very powerful system. Okay, So that's a little bit about web services. There's quite a bit more functionality in there that we can go over. We do all different types of reports, and we work with you guys to create custom reports that are available within the application. The beauty of the system is that we can write a simple query for you and attach it right to the system without doing any development on the back end. And we can make that report available as a dashboard or as a Sedona Sync notification. Here's an example of just a few of the notifications that we have. I know it really can't read it here, but I'd recommend going to our website and taking a look at the menu that we have available there. In addition to the events, we also bundle some of our events in what we call suites and packages. So several events that work around a common goal, things like notifying the technician or keeping the customer in the loop about service. We bundle those together in an application for you and deeply discount it. That would allow you to get up and running very quickly with that particular area of the software. The customer invoicing and billing statements is a great example of a very powerful package. Getting that one application allows you to send out the invoicing statements and gives you an update of everything that's going on. All right. That is all I have for the demo. I'd like at this point to open it up to anybody who has any questions. Feel free to ask those, and we'll see if we can answer it for you guys.
Hi, everybody. I don't see any questions in the question box, nor in the chat, but I'm going to give everybody about a minute or so if you want to type anything in, or you have any questions you have for Brad. We would be happy to read those and answer them. And then if you don't have any questions, contacting OPT, we have Brad and Chris, and they are both wonderful resources to kind of talk more about this, or feel free to reach out to me as well. And my email address is listed in your invitation and will be listed in your follow-up as well. Brad, it doesn't look like we have anything coming in, but if you want to, I can shoot out when I post the webinar, I can shoot out your contact information as well, and then have anyone kind of direct their questions back to you.
Excellent. Sounds great.
We have one. Hang on. Do you have the capability to collect service tickets by customer site and summarize by location to highlight specific sites that have consistent service issues or abnormal amounts of service tickets?
Yes, absolutely. So there's a report that we have. It's called our high frequency service report that can be done by customer, system, or site. And we can determine based on your criteria how many service calls are acceptable, and anything past that point at either one of those levels can be reported out. So it's highly customizable by you guys, and we've made several different variations of that over the years based on different needs. So reach out to us and let us know exactly what you're looking for, what the criteria would be, and I'm sure we can whip that up right for you.
Fantastic. And it looks as though that was kind of our last question. And we're gonna close this one down here. And thank you, Brad, so much for presenting. That was wonderful. And we look forward to passing anything else along to OPT. Everyone, thank you for joining us, and we will see you at our next webinar.
All right. Thank you for your time.